Call the meeting to order, please. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I thank you for the moment of silence. I think it's amazing. You know, I watched the U.S. legislature the other day start their meeting, and Father so-and-so gets up and gives a prayer. Now, I imagine he was Episcopalian. I don't think he was Catholic, but it's hard to tell anymore because Catholics dress a little differently, but he was in a suit with a collar on. But it was interesting that they feel they can pray, but we feel we can't pray. We have to have a moment of silence. We have to be politically correct at this level. And somewhere before January the 8th, I'm going to ask if the rest of the commission wants to go to a prayer, because I think we're needing prayer. And if not, I'll say a prayer anyway. And you can have anybody you want in here to collect me, take me over, or Andrew can be here and take me over because somebody thinks that's a violation. It's amazing what we're thinking is violations anymore. We'll have a roll call, and it looks like Bob and Doug are here and Louis is here. That takes care of that. And we'll go to public comments. Anybody have anything that they want to say that isn't on the agenda? Appreciate you coming forth. Give your name, address, and state what you're here for. Appreciate it.
Lloyd Martley, 20620 163rd Street, Basehor, Kansas. Former Chief of Police and City Administrator for the City of Basehor, now retired. This is kind of exciting for me because this is the first time in 23 years I've been able to speak at this meeting without having to be politically correct. So here we go. I noticed that the police department proposal is back on the agenda again, and it was requested by the commissioners to be brought up. If this is a case, it clearly shows that you guys don't understand what makes a city grow or police departments operate. Studies and surveys have been completed over many years that clearly show there are three main things that make cities grow: citizens feeling safe and protected, good school systems, and lower taxes. Basehor is the fastest growing city in Leavenworth County because we have all three. In addition to that, we are still listed as one of the safest cities in the state of Kansas by Smart Cities. Citizens don't typically care that much about commercial conveniences because they can drive to get what they need. But these three items can only be attained through smart and wise city choices. Public safety is number one. That is why cities across America spend millions and millions of dollars on police services and security for their systems, including your very own sheriff's department. The previous request for the proposal from Sheriff Dedeke was done illegally by Mayor David K. Brewer, along with other illegal meetings because he had no support or direction from his council to pursue this proposal, and he was strongly advised by me not to go forward with it, but he did it anyway. As a commission, when you received this proposal from the sheriff, the first action that you should have taken was to call me and ask what the heck is going on. The last thing that the county commissioner should be trying to decide for the cities they support is something like this. Basehor is located in a very unique location. We are surrounded by many major metropolitan cities, all accessible within a few minutes to no more than 20 minutes. And the majority of the major crimes that occur in Basehor come from outside of our city. As Basehor continues to grow, this trend is going to continue. If the Basehor Police Department was to shut down And when the criminals find out about it, a windstorm of additional criminal activity would occur, and this increase in crime would drastically slow or even stop the growth in Basehor. Because again, the number one reason for continued growth is people feeling safe and protected in their communities. I have nothing against the sheriff or his department. In fact, we've had a great working relationship for many years. However, I would have to disagree somewhat with his proposal because there's no way that 2 additional deputies can do the work of 12 Basehor police officers, nor would they be able to support or respond to the nearly 3,000 calls or more that the city annually responds to and deals with in a timely basis while maintaining our proactive approach to policing versus reactive policing that most police departments are forced to deal with. This also does not include all the community support projects that we are involved with around our town. I'm sure the sheriff is hard pressed to keep up with all the calls in the area he already has to cover with a minimum number of deputies and having staffing issues like all agencies are seeing these days. This proposal would not end up saving the city of Basehor anything. In fact, it would have nothing but a huge negative impact on everyone in Basehor and the county and would eventually end up costing everyone more money to fix the problem that it has created. As you well know from the letter you received last week and the special meeting results held weeks ago, the citizens of Basehor, along with the council, do not and did not and will not support the mayor's request. Contrary to your belief, the majority of citizens of Basehor actually like our police department, appreciated having me as a chief, and would never stand for anyone for any reason trying to shut down the Basehor Police Department. This is clearly an example of the commission having too much time on their hands and focusing on issues like this instead of improving some of the worthless roads that we have in this community. If you actually want to help Basehor with continued growth and development, allocate some money and resources to the 155th Street project along with improvements to 158th Street. These kind of improvements will actually help with the growth in Leavenworth County. Focus on things that are really important to the cities you support, because without cities like Basehor, Lansing, Tonganoxie, and the city of Leavenworth all doing what we are all doing, Leavenworth County would have nothing. This proposal should be removed from the agenda and trashed as it should have been in the beginning, because the citizens of our city and the governing body, with the exception of Mayor David K. Brewer, would never support or even consider a ridiculous proposal of this nature. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to comment on Mr. Motley's. I do not support this proposal. I did not want to bring this proposal forward. I represent the city of Basehor. I have no problem with their police department. In fact, I've taken a lot of calls from citizens from Basehor, and we don't have a say in this matter. If all 3 of us said, hey, we're going to do this, we could not do this.
That's right.
But I don't support it.
It should never even been brought to you. For one, like I said, it was illegally proposed.
Well, I don't know about that, but I respect the cities, the 3-mile radius of the cities. We will be participating in 155th Street when it comes because it is a county route. It's County Route 7. And you're the fastest growing city in the state, not just Leavenworth County.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
Another reason that we need our police department.
All right.
Anybody else have a comment? Because we'll deal with some of the comments that came from the gentleman at a later time today. We'll go on to past public comment to administrative business.
Just from our side, I just want to let you know that right now we're scheduling August 14th for the budget hearing for the final approval of the 2019 budget.
August 14th, okay?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on that.
Yes.
Would that include sewer district hearing?
Yes, yeah, we do have one sewer district hearing that will be scheduled at that time as well.
It'd be the same time?
Yes,
Okay.
same day. Yeah.
Okay.
And the school district item is what?
It's the sewer district.
Sewer district.
Oh, sewer.
Anytime
School.
Oh,
Excuse me.
no.
Anytime we make a change.
No, we don't want nothing to do
No, we
with the schools.
don't want anything to do with the school
Well,
district.
schools are coming. Okay, administrative business. I'm going to deal with some of this on the administrative business. It doesn't have to be voted on. 3 more cities honored as age-friendly. Mark, has Leavenworth ever been recognized as a city for that's helpful? Cities in Leavenworth County as helpful as any city from Mark? Does anybody know?
Not that I know of.
What you know of? Mark, you might write that down. I think, I know Leavenworth City, I don't think Base or any of the rest of them have anything against the aging. I think we work very hard for the aging, and somewhere we ought to be recognized for what we do. We're doing some market research for 5 county commissioners. It's very important. Should have been done before we got to where we're at. And I really did appreciate, and most of you don't know what it's like to do a petition. It is very significant. It takes a lot of time and effort, so I did appreciate Mrs. Lambie, or what name she wants to go by, God bless her heart, Jeanette, and she did a lot of work, and her group did a lot of work, so it was very interesting. I thought there was nice editorial, and I wish the young man, and I say young man, he graduated from IMAC in 1966. I wish he had really read, sat and listened. I sat and listened to it 3 times, what went on at the meeting. And if he was listening, he was having family gathering at the same time, so he really wasn't listening to what was going on at the meeting. But that shows you why juries are not the best in the world, and witnesses aren't the best in the world, because everybody's got a different opinion. One of the things I'm going to add into my research is if we go to 5 county commissioners, there will be no offices for all 5 county commissioners. We don't need to get into that. There'll be one office where any county commissioner can put themselves on a schedule. If they have somebody they want to meet with, we don't need to be rearranging the whole courthouse for 5 county commissioners if we're going to have a full-time administrator. Now, we can get rid of the administrator if you want, but I think Mark's been doing a fairly good job, even though he blocked me out on any questions on, and I'm saying that nicely, Mark, on the budget. But, and it's the same thing with these elections that are coming up, and the process needs to be gotten out so people understand. This isn't just like, we're going to flip number 4 and 5 on there. Mr. Smith may be running for election in January of next year. It's going to get complicated. We make up the districts, and that vote will be whether we want 5 or not in November. I think that's the date. And then right after that vote, we will set up the districts. Now, we can set them up, going like this, we can gerrymander to keep Mr. Smith in, or we can gerrymander, maybe I don't like the way he's been voting lately, and so we'll kick him out so he has to run for election.
There'll be 2 other commissioners that will be recently elected.
That will be possibly up for.
So you're saying they could all have to run again?
They could all have to run again. So this is going to get very complicated. And then what happens after the first of the year, please do not come into an audience when you're learning something and shake your head. Ever who was doing that, don't know who it was, but somebody was shaking their head violently like, oh my God, we're getting into a lesson. Yes, you're getting into a lesson. And you need to learn that you have to learn what's going on in life. Because what happens is you don't necessarily get to vote on who's going to be appointed to District 4 and 5. The parties are going to appoint who's going to be running in 4. There'll be a Democrat and a Republican selected by the party, and who's going to be in 5, selected by the party. So good or bad or indifferent. And then after that, what happens in 2020, another census comes out. And it's going to be a big thing because, as was just mentioned, Baser is really growing, and it's going to be pulling a little bit further south. But there will be two people elected from Leavenworth. I'm sure of that. 2 people from Leavenworth. Where the 3rd one's from and the 4th and 5th, I don't know. It'll be however we select the boundaries for all 5. It isn't just the boundaries for 2. It'll be the boundaries for all 5. So I'm hoping the clerk will come forth at some time in the near future. I would like to run a couple, in the paper where you can see really what's going to be happening in an article on what is going to be happening politically. It's going to be very important. So there'll be a lot of elections, a lot of people being upset. And if we keep Mr. Smith in his district, it won't be due to gerrymandering. It would be because he fell into that position. So that was just something I wanted to pass on. I think we need to get an article to the state. There are at least 5 states today that do all mail-in ballots. Doesn't mean that, well, we have a person running on a bunch of administrative things. So since we have a person running on a ballot, we now have to do the regular balloting. If we're worried about Mr. Putin, and if anybody hasn't been watching that game, if we're worrying about Mr. Putin and others getting into our software and doing things they shouldn't be doing, if it's a mail-in ballot, that doesn't happen. That doesn't mean it can't be a bad employee in the clerk's office or somebody else, but that does not happen because the ballots come in, it's run through a counter, and that counter has no hookup, shouldn't have, to anybody in the outside world. So it's just but we are the leader. We are the, man just mentioned about the Baser being the growing city. Leavenworth County, first in the territory. We should be the leader. We don't wait for somebody else. Sheriff's going to come up on his thought process. Zoning and codes. We did a very good thing, I think, the other day. A lot of people object to that. We want to have codes and zones done by the county, so we can put on whole staff. And I don't know how many the city has down there, but they probably have about 7 or 8 employees. So if we're going to do the whole county, we'll probably have to have 14 or more, because you got to have somebody there when you're doing the basement, the approval of how the basement was poured, putting in the electrical, the sheetrock, everything goes on and on. So it'd be a massive department. So we voted it down, hoping that someday in the future, the cities will say, wait, we have this boundary of 3 miles. Why don't we get together with the county and say, this is what we'd like to have in our portion of that 3 miles. That way it would be very beneficial.
Don't they already do that?
Do they already do that?
Yes, sir. I believe they do.
Well, they may already do it, but it's not coming to us saying, this is what we want you to do in that 3 miles. Would you do that for us? I don't think it's being done.
I think the city has a say in that.
Well, they got to say, but they don't
You have to build
come up with
within
all their
codes.
specifics.
Yeah.
All their specifics. You ever see their codes and zones? Coding?
Right.
It is massive. So we don't have theirs that we look at saying, well, we can't
Okay.
do that because the city of Leavenworth, and I'm just going to say the city of Leavenworth, maybe Baser, Tonganoxie, Easton, Linwood, one of the other ones does it also. The sewer, we don't want any more not holding tanks, ponds. City doesn't want that. City of Leavenworth doesn't, but we'll still allow that to be done, I bet you, at the 3 mile limit. Septic. You don't want septics.
No.
Do you know where the septics are in Leavenworth? Nope, you don't know it, and you're not supposed to know it. There's still septics in the city of Leavenworth.
They probably don't even know where all the old water lines are in Leavenworth.
That's right.
Right.
And we got rid of the last wooden water line a few years ago. Now that's how old the city of Leavenworth is. There's 13 houses up on Pine Ridge Drive all on septic. So, and that's just 13 houses there. When the sheriff comes forward talking on, I have one thing I wanted to say on the sheriff, and I appreciate him taking his time, along with Mr. Shirley. I don't have much connection with Mr. Jim Shirley. I have more connection with Mr. Ray Shirley. So, and I missed the barbecue, Doug, I'm sorry, down in Linwood. I hope it was good.
It was.
There you go.
Good turnout.
And maybe now it's a time to, we have a fire district thing picking up here. Maybe it's time, and I want to apologize to George Sprague. Anybody here know George Sprague?
Went
God
to his
bless his heart.
visitation a few months ago.
And he's gone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, he's gone. He brought up and wanted to do a central fire district for Leavenworth County. Not this, all these fire districts. It is amazing. I basically gave my 1925 LaFrance to a fireman over in Lawrence. But if you watch at parade time, I don't know how we have time for anything else to be in the parade. Between the fire districts and all of their fire equipment, somebody's getting a lot of money from somewhere. And I'll pass it on because a lot of people are not aware of this. No, that's Fire District 1's problem, of how they're going to divide and how this is going to get all involved, and how are we now back involved in it, even though it's Fire District 1, it'll be very interesting. But there's a depth there that somebody's going to have to assume. So,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
This board does not have any say in this matter.
well, we don't know that for sure. Do we know that for sure, David, that we don't have anything to say?
Mr. Chairman, members of this commission, good morning. Leavenworth County was a signatory to the interlocal agreement that created Fire District Number 1, and Leavenworth County did carry to the state legislature the amendments to the state legislature or laws that more or less encouraged the formation of Fire District Number 1. The agreement that creates Fire District Number 1 does provide for the three parties to, in the event of dissolution, reach an agreement regarding the apportionment of assets and liabilities. The agreement does not contemplate that division or allocation would be necessarily approved by the Board of County Commissioners. Since the Attorney General's office approved the interlocal agreement, there is a possibility that the dissolution may need to be ratified by that office, but that is something that needs and will require further and additional study by the parties before any action would need to be taken by this board.
And that's what was nice about the 18 months. They have 18 months to go through who's going to assume the $884,000 debt, 67%, who's going to do the equipment. All this gets involved there, and maybe the day before, the city of Lansing says, after much study, we don't want to do this. Who knows? But they have 18 months to study it. And surely in that amount of time, they will figure whether they really want to do and have their own fire district. But and my point was, George Sprague brought it up years ago, and I didn't follow up with him, about forming a county fire district. I mean, it's very expensive. It's sort of like a centralized school district. And schools are way more important than police and fire. Way more. That's nothing to do against Andy and his department or the Baser Police Department. They cannot take care of all the problems when they're happening. Same with the fire department. They can't be there. They'll be notified, and then they get there, and maybe by that time the house is burned down. And same way with the police. They can't get there at that amount of time to do what they have to do, because they can't have like in the old days, you had a church on one corner, and you had a beer joint on another corner, and you had a grocery store on another corner. You didn't like that. We're limited, and it has to be a limitation, or we couldn't afford it. We could not afford the police, fire, and the protection that is needed to stop all of the problems that we're having. So, consent agenda. Anybody have anything on that?
I had a couple corrections in the minutes.
Go ahead.
It was reported that Tonganoxie will be opening a youth center. It's actually a youth center is opening in Tonganoxie. The
Okay.
city of Tonganoxie is not opening the youth center. And then it said that I attended the opening of the senior living in Baser. Well, that was almost a year ago. I was just pointing out that it was in that brochure that Leavenworth's promoting, or Baser's promoting, and that I was at that opening.
Right, that was a very good brochure, I thought.
Yeah, no, Baser's got a good brochure on their city.
Good brochure.
Yep. That's all I had.
Anything else? Bob,
No, I see we have more legal fees.
legal fees, you like legal fees?
Oh, and
Yeah, it goes on my list.
I marked down here several items, and I asked Mark to get hold of the county attorney and express something. I don't know, 2-3 years ago, the county attorney, followed by the sheriff, indicated once we, and it's been law, once we approve the budget, they can do anything they want with it. Normally, they're very respectful. But if the county attorney had been here when it was designated, and he was given many times to when he could make it, then all the dissertation that took place with the county attorney wouldn't have taken place. When you're automatically telling somebody, yeah, shove it, I'll do whatever I want, and maybe that's just my interpretation of the county attorney, then somebody's going to recoil on that. Everybody else's budget had been taken care of, except for, I guess, the sewer district. But everybody else's budget had been taken care of, and he was given, I think, 4 days, 4 dates. And even on his 4th date, and I like the word date, you know? I think if I'd had 4 dates with a young lady that, or 3 dates, and hadn't made either one of them, that she probably wouldn't be there for the 4th date. So if the county attorney really is working with us, and we go out of our way to schedule a date, I would think he would be here. One thing that was brought up at the meeting, and it's a follow-up on Baser, and it wasn't in the minutes. Mr. Smith brought forward that the city of Baser, the council had gone along with the mayor to do Donahue Road. Is there anybody in here that thinks Donahue Road has a high priority for Baser or for the county? Now, that's why I have a bad feeling about Baser and its council. Now, you may not want the sheriff involved down there, that's fine. There's Riley County, Wyandotte County, and Johnson County has some agreements, it's working there. But Baser is not giving a good presentation. We did 147th. I don't know why we did 147th. There's probably some reason that I would like to hear, not the ones I'm getting. Eisenhower Road is a very logical road. McIntyre, there's no logic to that at all. So governmental entities are doing things that make me stop and think, no, wait a minute, where are they going with this? Why are we doing the roads? I understand Eisenhower, not because I live in Leavenworth, but I understand Eisenhower. There's 2,500 cars coming from the west, and there's 65 coming from the north, and they reverse at the end of the day. That's why we're doing 155th Street. And I thought it was very nice that all 3 commissioners agreed on that, to do 155th Street. So when Lansing closes down DeSoto Road to a degree and 147th Street, that people have a way to come through 20th and Eisenhower and go south on 155th Street. Now, we're not taking out the curves. We're just going in, doing a very economical base to make it a good road to bypass 147th Street, DeSoto Road, which goes by the high school, and that would have been the place. But nobody has found, and nobody will say, we did it, while we're doing McIntyre Road. So now I question Baser, and maybe Baser doesn't want to be questioned. Why did they go along with the mayor to do Donahue? There's no logic there. So what people need to do is go back, sit and think, what is good for what can be the most beautiful county, the most economical county. We just can't keep charging people on their taxes. It just can't keep going there because it isn't going to be beneficial to the overall growth of Leavenworth County. Not Baser's growth, not Leavenworth's growth, not Tonganoxie's. I'm going to put a high priority to be Easton. They don't waste money up there. I don't think Linwood does either because they haven't gotten into big government. So I think it's very important that all the cities and the county need to start meeting and not be politically correct. I've been here since November? I don't even know when I got here. November. And I got till January the 8th. There was no reason for anybody to come in here and be politically correct. I don't believe in that. That's why we're in the position we're in today, because everybody wants to be politically correct. They want to be nice. No, they don't have to be rude, but they just have to say, I disagree with that point. This is what I'd like to see done. So, anybody, next would be on the approval of the minutes, approval of the schedule for the following week. Anybody got a problem with that?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
They had canceled the MARC meeting for next week, so
Okay.
didn't know if we wanted to have a daytime meeting because of the county fair next week.
What is your opinion on that, Bob?
I would be in favor of that.
Would that make you
I
happy?
have workforce meeting, but I can see if it's a very important meeting, if I need to be there.
Oh, you still have a meeting then?
Yeah, I do.
Budget and
He doesn't.
personnel and,
But it's,
you still have a workforce
still have
meeting?
I still have the workforce meeting.
Okay. I didn't realize
I guess
that.
I could
Well,
check
we're not
with
going to
them.
sneak anything by you.
Hmm?
We're not going to sneak anything by you.
Well,
Well, I don't know about that.
I was gonna say, I don't know about that, but,
I mentioned to the administrator.
or do you wanna have an afternoon meeting? Because if you just got a workforce, you'll be back by,
Well, I'll be back early because
Yeah.
it's 8 o'clock down there.
right.
So
We could have a 1 o'clock meeting then.
Could do that.
Will the parade be over?
Hmm?
Parade's in the afternoon, right?
Evening,
Evening, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, 6:30.
Yeah. What do you want? You want to change it? And does that create a problem for the people who need to be notified? And Leavenworth Times has very poor circulation. The Kansas City paper's not here. The Douglas or the Lawrence Journal World, they don't give good presentation. So,
It is the Leavenworth County Fair, everybody will be at the Leavenworth County Fair.
well, especially the pigs and the hogs, and hopefully we don't get a rain on that day, so.
I hope, doesn't matter.
We put out the notice of meeting,
I can see it on my computer.
we put out the notice of meeting last week, but we can amend it, and it'll go
Okay.
out with the packet this week.
Yes,
Let me check with workforce and see if we're having a home conference meeting.
Okay.
Or if we're having a regular meeting.
very good. And then,
And then I'll let you know.
But
Yeah.
we would have to make that decision today because the board needs to vote.
I'll
to
check
move
with them
the-
today
Yeah.
and see.
No, I mean during this meeting,
We'd have to approve it.
because
Have
the
to
board
vote
would
on
have
it.
to vote to amend and move the meeting to next, for next.
Unless we just do an afternoon meeting, and then if I have to go to a meeting, then I can go in the morning. If I don't, then I won't go.
That's fine.
But if you go to we have a 1 o'clock meeting, you could make that.
I won't, I can make it, yes,
Yeah.
because I'll be back by then, because I'm
So how
always
would we
over at the
approve, why don't we
workforce.
just go ahead and make it a 1 o'clock meeting?
All right.
You're
Sounds
happy,
good.
he's happy, and I'm happy.
Mr. Berry would be happy.
Well, I can't help Mr. Berry. He's
He'll
got his
be
own
here.
problems.
Won't be here?
No, I'm gonna be here.
Okay.
Good, okay, very good. So, we need to change that to,
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock on,
23rd,
24th of, Tuesday, the 24th at 1 o'clock.
yeah,
24th.
okay? Change that to 1,300. Very good. That takes care of that part of it. The next item was, the checks. Anybody got anything on that they want to comment?
Spent a lot of money this month.
A lot of money. King's Construction, 147. 147, Baser. $806,000. Next big one was Blue Cross Blue Shield employees, roughly $225,000. I don't know what the warrant was for First State Bank for around $200,000, but
It's our payment on the annex.
payment on the annex.
Annex building in Tonganoxie.
Tonganoxie? Tonganoxie, did you grab that? 200,000 down in Tonganoxie. And I emphasize on that because it was sort of pointed out that we do not worry about other parts. I only worry about the second district, he only worries about the first. And Douglas doesn't do a thing in the south, and because he doesn't worry about the south, but also the south part of Lansing is not in the south part of the county. But Doug, you do good. I appreciate the time you spent. I think there's another one in here that is massive in amount. No, it's not really massive. It was Level County Co-op, only $67,000. What I thought was interesting, remember we commented last week that we were 600,000? Well, this one is 1.4 million, so
Right.
that balances out. We're back to the 1 million. We're spending roughly every payday to take care of. So we do have 4 OCBs, and I will entertain an motion.
Make a motion to have the chairman sign and date the OCBs.
Be just a motion to approve the.
The agenda, the consent
Oh,
agenda,
the
Bob. Yeah,
consent
the whole,
agenda. Okay. I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as stated,
as stated with the correction.
with
Yeah.
corrections to the minutes.
Okay,
And the change in the
yeah.
meeting. I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved second. How do you vote?
Aye.
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 Okay. Next is formal board action. Consider a motion to approve a contract with Stroke Prevention Plus to provide health screenings for county employees. Thank you, Jamie.
Morning, Commissioner. Jamie Miller, Health and EMS Director. I've presented to the commission a request for board action to enter into a contract agreement with Stroke Prevention Plus to provide the bio and cardio gauge health assessments again this year to the county employees. This will take place, if the board so desires, on November 2nd. We did it November 3rd last year. Stroke Prevention Plus has offered the same cost per assessment for this year as they did last year. I was able to refer the city of Lansing to them. The city of Lansing is also going to be doing a health assessment for their employees, so as part of the referral process, we were able to keep the same cost for Leavenworth County.
So the county and the city of Lansing, in a sense, are working with the same group, so it keeps the same price, but they're not doing theirs together.
Correct.
Yeah.
They'll have separate
Yeah.
dates.
Are any of the other cities doing that?
Mark and I have discussed that, and we're going to be trying to outreach. And this was kind of the first outreach that we've
Okay.
done, but I'm going to be speaking with administrators of all the cities and such. in the
Right. Do you have any question, Doug?
No, sir, I think it's a very good program. I mean, it's a very thorough exam. employee. Like I said, I wish all the employees would do it, and maybe we could get a discount on our health insurance by having a program like that.
That might be a thought. Bob, any questions?
Yes. I was wondering, Jamie, have you reached out to any of the physicians in Leavenworth County to have this and see what they could do it for? Several physicians on,
How the program actually works, when they come out, one, the size of the room and the area that they need to do that, it's why also we don't have several dates and such, even for county employees. It's pretty thorough, and it takes, it's many months. It's why I'm here in July trying to get November 2nd. So to offer this to the entire county would be pretty expensive.
I think what he was asking is if
No,
there
I'm
are
not
any local
asking that.
physicians
Oh.
that could provide the same services. And there
No.
are no local physicians that provide this type of screening.
you mean to tell me they can't? Height, weight, waist measurements, vital signs, body mass index, aggregate reporting?
Commissioner, a lot of those services are done at the health department, and we used to provide a pretty basic health assessment to employees, as well as community and everything else. Where the benefit is that we're really after are the sonography, the bone density scans, things of that nature that you can't get, we don't have the equipment for. Those are really the, if you will, silent killers that we're looking for, to be able to find way in advance before. The height, weight, those are simple health assessment screenings that are very easy to be done. And we were doing those, and we looked out further to give a further assessment to our employees to find things that we found last year, thyroid masses, things that when they were scanning the neck, were able to alert our county employees that they didn't even know were there because we offered it. And they were able to go and provide and seek out additional treatments and things of that nature because we provided this to our employees.
So who administers these tests?
Stroke Prevention Plus. They come in, they bring the entire staff, they use our training room out at the health department, and they bring in the sonographers, they bring in the equipment. That
So-
way also, I'm not part of the health information.
So they're
Employees-
not physicians?
They're not. They're technicians. That information, though, is sent over to, if there's a negative finding, that it's just like in a hospital, you'll have a technician that runs the test. It is then reviewed by a radiologist. It's done by a nurse. There's also a physician that oversights and looks at all the reports from the information that's there.
And then you'll get a packet in the mail. Each
Laboratory is sent off to laboratory. Everything is done by professionals. And that way, again, then the county side, myself, health department, we don't keep any of those personal health records or anything else. It is kept by the employees. As Commissioner Smith said, a packet is then sent to you by the mail. You fill out all your information, and then you'll receive a report on your assessment in the mail. I received mine probably within 3 to 4 weeks after the event.
Okay.
My question would be a financial one. How many employees took advantage of it last year?
We had 135 employees go through it last year.
135, and now they're giving us 150 slots. That $144 per employee,
That's correct, per assessment.
is that part of the 1.4 or the 2% pay? Or is that just extra money that they're getting?
Last year, we funded that out of the employee benefit fund for the employees, and that would be the anticipated.
Okay. So that is a financial gain to those employees. That isn't considered as part of their pay. But it's something that we're giving them out of county money to, yeah,
It's a benefit, and that is.
which is all right. But, you know, it's sort of like uniforms. everybody's got to have a uniform, and a lot of times we don't take that in consideration. Wait a minute, that's part of my pay. No, they don't do that. It's something that they expect. So I think the program is good, but the employees that are taking advantage of it ought to recognize that they're getting $144 worth of processing, which is very good for the health. So
It also could save, if somebody's doing a preventive thing, it could save on future medical bills.
that's
And
true.
it could save us on our health insurance costs.
So,
By a program like this being in place, I would hope that eventually we could get our health insurance decreased by having a program like this in place.
I don't know, have we approached that to the insurance company?
We do talk to our insurance carriers, brokers, as far as preventive precautions that the county are taking.
You know, a lot of the
We have
programs are
looked
nice.
at- Please?
A lot of the programs are nice, but you know, at the end of it, it's going to be politically correct. They're going to say, hey, Lou, you need to lose some weight. You know, you're 5'10" now. You're not 5'10" 3/4. Mother Nature's pulling you down, and you're not helping yourself. So you need to, you know, cut down on what you're eating, or we'll set you up a program. That's what the VA does. They'll set you up a program, and you can go do their program because they're interested in your long-range health. I don't know why they're interested past 80, but I guess they are. They want to see how long they can get their vets to live, and if they'll go out and live in the home out there. So, but it's a very good program. I would hope that every employee would take advantage of it, because hopefully they're not going to be politically correct. They're going to find things and they're going to mention things, and so.
Isn't that kind of what people are supposed to be doing? I do it myself. I go once a year to my physician,
Yeah.
and I have a physical done.
Yeah, and that's wise. So we need to do what on this? Consider a motion to approve. We need a motion to approve this. Anybody want to do a motion? Douglas?
I'll make a motion that we approve the health assessment that Mr. Miller's brought forth.
Okay, is that enough language on that? We can always make it longer. You want to second that?
I'll be politically correct and second that.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. How do you vote, Bob?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Very good.
Also politically correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Case, what is next here? Case number DEV-18-070, temporary use, special use permit for Lansing Education Foundation Gala. Staff recommends approval. I'm going to open the public hearing. And if anybody wants to waste their time, come forward. We'd like to hear it, but you don't have to, because I don't.
Well, I'm here to do it. I brought some donuts because I thought I was
God.
That's a pretty hard act to follow after a health assessment.
obviously.
I'll move that we, that's good. I like that.
So, I'm Christine Oss. I'm the president of the Lansing Educational Foundation, and we're requesting a special use permit for the Line of Weavers Riding Arena
Right.
for our biannual gala. It's proven to be a very good venue for us because it's big enough and it's outside of the Lansing city limits, but it's in the Lansing school.
You know, I appreciate you calling it a gala, and I called it a gala. It's like Esplanade. And the imports come in and they call it Esplanade. Esplanade, see. I never did.
Well, my feeling about it is that if it was a gala, it would be spelled Gayla.
Yeah. Whoa, now we don't want to go there. The donuts were good. Would you give her an A on her next grade card? That's good. Does anybody want to be against the donuts? I mean, excuse me, against the gala? No, sir. God, I love it.
We need a motion.
I'm going to close it. I'm going to close the public hearing. I see they write that in here. It tells me what to do. Now we're going to consider a motion to accept it, a temporary special use permit for Lansing Education Gala, and the donuts well received. I'll entertain that.
I'll make that motion that we approve case number DEV-18-070, a temporary special use permit for the Lansing Educational Gala.
Second.
Second's been moved and seconded to accept the donuts, the motion, excuse me. How do you vote, Doug?
Aye.
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 What kind of donut? No. Do I need,
It's an assortment.
look at me, do I need a donut? Jeez. Thank you, I appreciate
Go
that.
to Get your health assessment.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Got a gentleman by the name of, let's see, what's next? Consider a motion for acquisition of real property and authorize chairman to sign the agreement. Okay. So this, did you want to dissertate on that, Mr. Administrator or Mr. Attorney?
Gentlemen, again, good morning. David Van Paris. As part of the Eisenhower Road Improvement Project, the county has been acquiring and has acquired certain right-of-way easements for the expansion of the road and the relocation of utilities along the Eisenhower corridor. I was instructed and did enter into negotiations with one of the property owners that the county had not heretofore acquired. I believe, successfully negotiated an agreement that is acceptable to the property for the project that the county has. I presented to you a proposed agreement for the easements. I have made some changes. There were semantic, more in the form of corrections rather than substance. You've been provided a copy of the agreement. Becky has the original agreement that I would ask at the end of this presentation that the board authorize the chairman to sign. It's my intention to try to effect the finalization of these easements later this afternoon, provided that Public Works can provide to me the easements that had been requested. I believe this is satisfactory to the property owner, does provide to the county the necessary easements for this project to move forward. And just by report, this leaves one property remaining upon Eisenhower. Negotiations have been initiated with respect to that property. In the event that does not bear fruit, eminent domain proceedings would be initiated so that this project remains on schedule.
Okay, anybody, you have any questions?
No, sir.
Bob? I'll entertain a motion then.
Would the motion have to include the parties or the amount or just the agreement?
I believe the appropriate motion, Commissioner Smith, might be a motion to approve the agreement for easements as presented.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we authorize the chairman to sign the agreement for the easements presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. How do you vote, Bob?
Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more, huh?
One more. Okay, consider a motion to approve the Leavenworth County Port Authority agreement.
Mr. Chairman, members of this commission, once again, David Van Paris. Pursuant to your instructions, I did prepare a proposed amendment to the Leavenworth County Port Authority agreement, which was initially entered into in 1969 by Leavenworth County and the city of Leavenworth. This draft agreement was prepared with the instructions, I received from the board. This proposed amendment had earlier been provided to you for any comment or changes. As of this morning, I have not received any, but there's certainly time to do so. It is my understanding that upon your consideration of this draft agreement, that it would be presented to the city of Leavenworth for their consideration.
Douglas?
Well, for now, this is okay, but next year, when the legislature goes back into session, I would like to see if we have to do, or get an AG opinion, if we add members to the Port Authority, and I'd like to see a member from each city on the Port Authority board represented. You know, they can appoint somebody, but they can't vote. I'd like to see voting members from each city. And being this was set up by the legislature, approved by the legislature, I don't know if you have to have the legislature to change it, or if you can just get an AG opinion to add members.
But we can do that with ex officio members. Paragraph 2, it says allows for the ex officio participation of other incorporated cities of Leavenworth.
Have a vote. I would like to see each city have a voting member on this board.
Wait a minute.
That would be Easton, Linwood.
I'm glad you said East and Linwood first. You know, the others, they're doing their thing. But who's the finance person here?
We are.
We are.
That's correct.
And we want the cities to vote. No, I definitely want their input, but I don't know if I want them to vote. That's pretty, again, we're
Well,
being.
we would also be appointing these people from these cities. Is that correct?
Well,
That's correct. That's how we do it now,
yeah. But I don't,
as long as Leavenworth goes along with us.
does that mean we get 6 votes and the cities get 5 votes? See, I'm very interested. We've paid a lot of money. We've paid a lot of money.
Yes, sir. We have.
And I don't know if the city of Leavenworth has come forward and said, thank you for paying a lot of money. We appreciate this. And now that you're mentioning you want us to continue to pay the lion's share of the money.
Well, I think if you had representation from all the cities, maybe you'd get some support.
How many years has this been in effect since 69?
1969.
So 69, that's what, 19 years? 18 years?
Oh, more than that,
No, it's 20,
getting close to 50.
yeah,
49.
close to 30. So we didn't get any help in there. So I don't know what help we would get. I just don't like the idea that we're going to be the main sponsor, probably the only sponsor, and I'm going to go down to the casino and I'm going to roll the dice that I think that all the cities are going to want to participate when they're hiring their own staffs to do this. I think Lansing has their own staff member. Leavenworth does. I don't know. I don't think Basehor does. Maybe they do. Easton.
I believe the job description of the new administrator, I think, is going to have something to do with economic development.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I think the only two that probably don't have some kind of is Easton and Linwood.
Linwood.
Yeah. So I really don't want to. I like the ex officio, and the next group who will not be in office very long before we have to re-vote on them. After we re-vote it.
We can revisit it when the new commissioners get here and see how they feel, and it'll be before the legislative sessions begins.
Right.
And you may or may not have new legislatures.
And they may do it, and then after the next election in.
Or at least get if there's interest, at least get an Attorney General's opinion on whether we have to do that, because there was some change last year on the sale of property that the Port Authority owns. That it used to have to be sold for the appraised price, and the legislature got some stuff changed that it could be sold for below market value to offer incentives to businesses. And that didn't take the whole legislative makeup.
It shows in here what they're wanting to sell it for.
Right.
So I personally do not want to change it to a regular member who can vote, but you were wanting to do that?
Well, yeah, I'd like to see that
And
happen.
what do you want, Robert?
But I think for what's in front of us right now, we need to approve it.
Yeah, what's in front of us
Right now, we need to
So
approve
that's
it.
not
I'm
a-
talking future.
I agree.
I'm talking
Okay,
in the
you want to
future.
move in the future, that's all right.
Yeah, because I mean, it being it had to have the legislature's approval to form the Port Authority. It's going to take, we just can't do a knee-jerk reaction and change.
Yeah, because all through here it says, this is hereby established by the of the parties, and then it also says express approval, number 2, express approval of the parties. You know, it's, we could have some hangups there, but I'll entertain a motion, if somebody wants to do a motion to accept the draft, accept the proposed changes to the amendment to the Leavenworth County Port Authority Agreement. So, Douglas, you want to do a motion?
I'll do that.
This will
Okay.
be sent to the city of Leavenworth.
Be
for
sent to
their
the city of Leavenworth for their blessing.
This is just, like I said, for right now, I just want you, everybody know how I feel in the future on this.
Yeah.
Feelings are good,
All right.
especially if they're touchy.
I'll make a motion that we approve the amendment to the Leavenworth County Port Authority Agreement.
Okay?
Second.
Been moved and second. How do you vote, Bob?
I vote politically correct, aye.
Very good. Aye.
Aye.
That takes care of that. Okay. Presentations and discussion items. Presentations are materials of general concern where no action or vote is requested or anticipated. A, proposal of law enforcement services. Morning, Sheriff. Did you want to dissertate on this?
Well, I saw this item was on the agenda. For the life of me, I can't understand why. I think the city of Basehor has made their wishes known. I respect that. So basically, I came this morning to answer for any actions that anybody may have questions over what I did or how this came about.
Well, I want to be unpolitically correct to start off with. This was a tremendous suggestion. I really appreciated it. It is a shame, and it's like Tyson chickens. Like anything else, there's a proper procedure for it to go through. I think, and I talked, thanks a lot, Doug.
What's that?
I talked to a lady last night for an hour, just because you said, well, why don't you give Lewis a
Oh,
call?
no, I did not say that. I would never say call a commissioner.
It was a very enjoyable conversation. You know why?
Probably because you knew her.
Didn't know her,
Okay?
but I knew she was of the greatest generation, because she gave me her age.
Is that politically correct to ask someone their age?
Yeah, it is.
That's not,
If you're not proud of your age, it's time for you to do something else. She gave me her age, gave me the good conversation. I told her I understood. But what brought it to my mind is when you came forward, nothing against you, you were just telling what had happened, and said that Basehor wanted us to cost share in a road.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think we should entertain that for all the cities. If they got a road that's within their 3-mile district of their jurisdiction, I think we should cost share roads with them.
well, I'm not gonna ask you unless you want to volunteer. Was that a good road to come up with?
If you want to look at the big picture, 155th is going to be, like you said, they're going to be, right now, there's a study going on to get, where we can get funding and then take traffic off the 155th, take it over to 147th Street and disperse it that way.
Well, 155th can also go into what, County Road 7 or 8 and go down through
Yeah.
Basehor. Picks up a fair amount other ways around.
Just like we're doing Hollingsworth.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
But it makes me wonder, why would the city and the mayor want a road that has no significance at this time? I could go through there, and I went through Basehor the other day in the whole southern area and saw a lot of roads that are way above McEnroe, way above.
Mhm.
So, Sheriff, you did an outstanding job. And the city didn't bring it to their meeting. I don't know of anything we've ever rejected coming. Have we said we don't want to talk about that? Mr. Administrator?
I'm trying to think.
Have we ever rejected anything?
I don't think anything that any of the cities have proposed to us where we said we just don't want to talk about it, no.
No, I'll listen to them. I want to hear it.
I've been here
Yeah.
the longest, and I don't remember that as ever being said.
So I just thought it was an outstanding presentation. I wanted to hear it go through its steps. It's just amazing to me that, and it was how many police did he say they have full-time?
I believe 12.
12 full-time policemen. I mean, they're on the streets at all time? Do you know of that, Sheriff, since you're the one up here?
Does
They
the
got-
city of Basehor have 12 officers out at one time?
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's what it sounded like. They got 12 officers on the street.
No, I think it's pretty clear he divides that amongst the 3 shifts that City of Basehor Police Department provides for.
So are you going to fire all these policemen?
Let me give you an historical perspective of this.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I was contacted by our county administrator who said that he had been in discussion with Mayor Brewer about providing police services or the possibility of providing police services to the city of Basehor. As I recall, this discussion went on for several months. My position being I wouldn't even consider preparing a proposal until I knew that city of Basehor was serious about that. I was given that indication. A meeting was requested. I met with Mayor Brewer. He gave me an overview of what he was requesting. I never got the impression that this was something that he was necessarily going to go with or act on today. I think he was looking at some alternatives. I asked several questions which he didn't have answers for. I was also given the impression that at least some of the members of the city council were in favor of looking into this item. And I was also told that he would present the proposal to the city commission after I had given it to him. I spent some time preparing the proposal, gathering information from what I could from public record sources. And in no way was this proposal the intended final product, knowing that there would be, if this is something that the city council voted to move forward on, that there would be discussions on. This was the open and volley to get the discussion going. The proposal was provided to our county administrator, who gave it to Mayor Brewer. I learned very shortly thereafter that the city council had decided they didn't want to go forward with it. I later learned that the proposal was never given to the city council. At any rate, that's a decision made locally by the city of Basehor. I want to clarify that this is not an attempt on the sheriff's office to build an empire. Lord knows I got enough grounds and responsibilities to cover as it is. I looked at this request as simply a request to what would it look like if you did this. My intent with the proposal was not to terminate any current employees. Rather, we would reallocate within the patrol division. I felt that the staffing that was requested by Mayor Brewer was in line with what staffing models show for a population the size of Basehor. And I also had, it was the intention that we would have overlap from our patrol districts out in the county. So whereas there may be 2 assigned to the city, you could very well have 4 in the city or nearby the city at any given time. The city of Basehor Police Department does a good job. I've known Chief Marley for about 23 years. He's been a good friend of mine. One of the objections I had in doing the proposal, and I posed this to Mayor Brewer, was, what about Chief Marley? I was told he was going to speak with him about it, let him know what's going on in his capacity as chief, also in his capacity as city administrator. In hindsight, the one thing I wish I would have done different was insist on a signed letter from the city council requesting this action. Beyond that, this was a proposal done in good faith under the information I had. I think the city of Basehor does, again, a fantastic job, and I have nothing else to add other than that. So,
Do you do any work for Basehor right now?
we assist Basehor.
In what ways?
There's investigations that lead us into Basehor that we're working on. And we are always a resource to Basehor if
Yeah.
they need help.
Uh,
Likewise, they are a resource
Do
to
you
us
have
if
to,
they-
by law, you have to assist them?
We are charged by statute to keep the peace. That's a very broad
Right.
statement. I interpret it as, yes, it is my responsibility.
But there are a lot of things that they ask you to do for them because they don't have the manpower.
I wouldn't say there's a lot of things. I would say.
Well, there's
that-
some things, okay?
But it's give and take.
Yeah. Give and take.
Absolutely. Sometimes we won't have an officer close by and they're able
Okay.
to back us or facilitate some request that we have.
Okay. So, anybody have any thoughts or questions?
No, I thought the proposal answered all my questions. And I kind of look at it as the sheriff has kind of indicated a little bit, is that the city of Basehor does a very good job now. Why are we getting involved in it? I think if we have a say in this, I think the mayor needed to go to his city council, get approval, and then he should have come to us, or if he come to Mark and requested it, and, who's going to fund all this, and, who's going to fund the extra manpower that's going to go on. There's a lot of questions I would have if the sheriff went ahead and did this, and I'm sure he would have more questions too. But as I read this proposal here, I don't see why they need it right now unless they're looking at funding a different way or wanting funding for something else. And so they're trying to cut their funding for law enforcement and pass it on to the county and the sheriff's department. I don't know. I think there's still questions that needs to be answered.
I think it's just the opposite from, I believe Basehor's building a new police station, shooting range, indoor shooting range and all that.
Oh, my God.
So, or looking into it anyway.
Looking into it. They
Yeah,
own
they own the building.
Jeez.
That's another thing. Do you allow the other cities to use your shooting range, Sheriff?
Per the resolution, it's available to other law enforcement, and there have been other departments within the county that have utilized the range.
Okay, so it would be available to the city of Tonganoxie, city of Basehor?
Absolutely.
Where's your shooting range?
The quarry on K-16.
Okay.
west
Rock
side.
quarry, we got it down in the
Yep.
pit.
State Penn has one too.
Yeah,
Probably usable.
it's an outdoor shooting range, but he's
Yeah.
got a building down there for training and all
Right.
that. It's a pretty good setup. You should go there once in a while.
No, I go to other places
I
to.
mean, not to shoot,
Oh.
to look at the facility. It's
They don't have-
down in a rock pit, in the
Yeah,
pit. It's
I can't
it's a
shoot.
good-
I can't shoot what I want to shoot down there. Okay,
Okay.
there you go. I just thought it was an outstanding presentation. I think that other entities have to look at in the light that it was given. You mentioned it wasn't done because you want to have a dynasty. It was done because now I hear the mayor and several council members. And it goes back to Tyson chicken. Everybody's pushing Tyson chicken. And then all of a sudden, not me, man. And this is at all levels. I wasn't in favor of that. I want to be reelected. That is bad. When you, and I'm not picking on you, I said all levels. There were some state legislators and state senators, not me.
Well, what I get about it too is the state legislators that went down there, they didn't know anything about what they were talking about. They were just worried about getting reelected.
Yep, totally unbelievable. But I don't have any more questions, Mayor, Mr. What's your title? Sheriff. Thank you.
The High Sheriff.
The what?
The High Sheriff.
Oh, okay. There wasn't a new designation for sheriff? There isn't a new designation, major sheriff? That's a joke right now. Okay, I thank you for coming forward, and hopefully Baser will go back, and other cities will read the news and say, I don't think the other cities have a vision. They have thought. There's a difference between a vision and a thought. We are doing a big investment in all the utilities, the roads, hopefully police protection, fire protection will all be involved. And there won't be Easton, creating that problem. No, if it isn't for Easton, it isn't for anybody. Does everybody know where Easton is? We've got to start concentrating on everything that's going to benefit the county. The lady I talked to last night, I enjoyed the conversation very much. Even though it took us into an extended hour and she didn't have to come up and go to a meeting today. I'm sure she's retired if she isn't. It takes a lot of energy, and I told her I was going to pass on to her the information on the road. And I'll pick on the road that the city council said they were in favor of and the mayor said he was in favor of. I'm not wanting a swamp to be developed anywhere, and I see little swamps. And it's very hard to lean a clean act. And as I told people the other day, the only reason I wanted to run, if I was ever going to run to see how much baggage I'm carrying, how many votes I don't get. Because I think the group of us, with what we were coming in with, and you came in at a different time than I did, I think we've been very progressive, and I hate that term, in what we're doing for the county. Very progressive. And to hear somebody come up and say that they don't think that I need to have an input on Baser, Linwood, Easton, Tonganoxie, Lansing, and Leavenworth. Somebody once said at a school board meeting, well, you don't even live in the city of Lansing. I'm one of the major payers in the city of Lansing. What is that? You pay the money, but there's no vote? That's called the Tea Party, wasn't it? So somebody corrected the school board president and said, no, but he is a major payer of taxes in the city of Lansing for the school district. We're doing Eisenhower. Leavenworth gets half, Lansing gets half. We did all of 147th down there for golf course and subdivisions. And that's an asset to Lansing. There were some things that, not Lansing, no, Baser, there's some things that happened but prior to that probably shouldn't have happened, but they did. But everybody overlooks that. Oh, what's a little error here and there. So next is pay plan and wage discussion.
But
Yes,
on
go ahead.
147th, I believe that was supposed to be done on the 2006
Yeah,
sales tax.
nobody said anything.
So, and it didn't get done.
Yeah, well, that wasn't my fault, was it?
It wasn't mine either.
Okay. I don't know whose fault it was. Well, we were spending too much money in 206. What were we spending the money on?
Radios and County Road 1.
County Road 1.
County Road 1.
My God, County Road
That's
1.
pretty much what we got done with that sales tax.
Yeah.
The new radio upgrades.
Yeah, that's right. County Road 1 was, that was what, 14 million?
About that, 12, 14 million.
Yeah, well, a million here, a million there. They also got 2440 some years ago. Thank you, Harley.
I believe all the taxpayers ended up paying for that.
No, but Harley did the legwork.
Yeah.
Harley did the
No,
legwork.
I know. I believe Public Works actually helped make the payments on that one.
The whole
Our
system.
budgets was pretty tough during them times we were making payments on
And-
2440. Should have been KDOT money.
Yeah, and what came out on 2440? What's the major event on 2440? Not banks. Banks, they're different. Miles Construction. And if Miles Construction had not been handled properly, they wouldn't have been there. They put their first trucks just west of the school in Baser.
163rd Street, south of Leavenworth Road, yes,
Yeah.
that's correct. That's where it
Yeah.
started.
It was a very progressive county commission that said, no, we're going to give them the special use permit. And now they're out on the highway. Massive operation, sort of like Capital Electric. Everybody know Capital Electric?
Warren's, yes.
Started in a garage. One of the major electric companies in the United States. So, okay, that's on down the line. Pay plan and a wage discussion.
It's put on the agenda at the request of the board. The discussion started out as the open positions were really the items of concern. I think maybe the board got into some titles and who's called what for why. But really, I think the underlying issue was the open positions, open funded positions, and what happens to the budget for those positions. And so, at your request, this is on the agenda. You have copies of the sheriff's pay plan and the county's pay plan. I'm not sure that that was really the underlying concern, but that's what's in the packet today. And my understanding of it is that when we have a position that is budgeted but unfilled, the commission was concerned with how those funds can be utilized for other items. And what we discussed is that in the appointed department heads, those funds are not allowed to be used for anything other than wages. And I think the chairman at the time was concerned with, what about the elected department heads? Well, obviously, I think you mentioned earlier in this meeting that once the budget is approved for an elected department head, that's their budget to administer. And the state statutes are very clear on that, I think, anyways. So that's the background of why this is on the agenda. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I do have a potential policy, I think, that could address the concern that was brought up without getting into the need for staff to come to this board for every position that we hire. And I think it addresses what the ultimate concern was and what happens to those funds.
That is true. A little bit of PS in there. BS, rather. But that was good. You did good, Mark. We had an indication 2 or 3 years ago. And it became very hard to want to talk about this again, Andy, because I loved your presentation so good to Baser that you moved so far up the list that I didn't know if I'd be able to discuss this. That was good. But it was indicated to us that there was going to be a pay plan for the sheriff's department, which was done, I think, in 2016. Pay plan for the sheriff department, but it was indicated 2 or 3 years ago that county attorney sort of said, you approve our budget, you're done with it. And the sheriff, same way. You approve our budget, we no longer have a say-so. The Register of Deeds, treasurer, county clerk, we approve their budget, we don't have anything to say about it. We're done. Now, you may know what our feelings are, what you're doing, but you do not know sometimes, am I doing something that is affecting the overall concern of the county? Doug gave a very good presentation last week. We serve the whole county. We don't serve Leavenworth, Lansing. We don't serve Leavenworth, Kickapoo, Easton. We don't serve south part of the county. We serve the whole county. And I don't know how that can be expressed any more than my 9 years of having been here. Bob's or what his comes to. Now Doug's in his second year. How they feel, but I know I serve Leavenworth County. When I look at something for Linwood, or something for Baser, Tonganoxie, Leavenworth, it isn't done because I'm worried about my constituents. My constituents are the whole 80,000, including kids, or ever what there is. Throughout the years, and I did a motion many years ago that was approved, we started paying increases at the start of the year. Wasn't at the end of the year, and when we didn't have a administrator, where maybe the chairman of the board went to the clerk and said, do you think there's enough money in everybody's department to give a pay increase? That's just not the way to do things. That isn't the way you run a small business, big business, or any kind of business. There wasn't a department that I remember in those 8 years that didn't say, yeah, I think there's some money in there. I'll find it. That's not the way you run it. And you have how many, in your case, the sheriff has roughly $342,000 worth of vacancies. I said roughly. We're not going to deal with 50,000 or 100,000. $133,000 worth of gas, which brings it to $475,000, roughly. I'll even make it $200,000, you know, if that makes everybody feel good and we don't have to talk about what the actual figure is. It concerns me that a department, and we talked the other day about county attorney, they got the 2%, they get the 1.4, but they also gave all the attorneys, and I don't know what word they like. Do they like lawyer? Do they like attorneys? They're their own breed of cat. Very protective of their territory. So, did the sheriff do that? Nobody's got the potential. I'm not going to say what he did, but he has the potential because he's got $342,000 worth of vacancies sitting there. We approve that budget, and he can do anything he wants. Now, somebody in the next budget hearing might say, let's cut him 10% across the board. Let's cut him 5%. We didn't like what he did. We hadn't done it yet, so we can't really say that, but that potential is there. I do not like to see that kind of money sitting in a department that isn't going to be controlled. And I won't get into, I did get into last time, you know, what's a major deputy, chief deputy, master deputy, all kinds of terms here that haven't excited me. I don't know what's wrong with the regular deputy. Several master deputies, I think there's 3 of them. They used to do that in the banking industry. Anybody that's been in the banking industry, they call them a vice president of this or vice president of that. I don't think that was for the pay increase. That was for the general, to make the guy feel good, I think. I don't know. But in this case, it's pay increases. So, and we won't get into individual salaries unless somebody wants to go there. So I think it's in our proper procedure to take control of funds that can potentially be used in other areas that they shouldn't be. So that is either done by, and I'd like to see them brought back under they have their own budget. I mean, their own pay plan. Why not give the other 4 their own pay plans? Because they can do whatever they want with the money. Why did the sheriff need his own pay plan? Who worked with him at that time to develop that pay plan? Okay, that's another story. But I don't think he needs his own pay plan. He needs to be back. That's sort of like capers. Anybody know anything about capers? There are all levels of capers. The judges have their own level, don't they? Yep, there's a judge level. Isn't that nice? That's sort of like the U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives. They don't get the same kind of retirement we get. And I know they maybe pay a little bit more money. Well, maybe a regular employee would like to have that, knowing what they would get in return. So that's what I would like to see. They come back under the county's pay plan, and everybody stays under the pay plan. And we remove those funds and put it under the county, to where if the sheriff hires an employee, he can say, I'm going to hire Joe Blow, and I need him as a deputy or a master deputy or, I don't know, king size deputy, and we're going to pay him this much. Because I went through the both pay plans, and I saw where most of these people that I was checking on under the sheriff's pay plan and this pay, they were actually in there, but they started at different levels. And I did catch one that was a penny off. I thought that was interesting. But that's what I'd like to see done. And if there isn't a consensus, sheriff can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. So that's my thought process. Okay?
I'd like to make a couple of comments.
Yes, sir.
You made several, but I'll try to address all of them. I may miss one or so. Let me first start out with how we use the funds. In our budget, there's 3 primary categories: personnel, commodity, and contractual. Obviously, pay would come out of the personnel section. I can't speak for other departments in the county. I can't speak for other elected officials in the county. All I can speak for is the sheriff's office. Sheriff's office, we budget our raises. There are times throughout the year where somebody is promoted. There are other sometimes extenuating circumstances where there would be a raise given that wasn't otherwise planned for. The money is never used for anything other than personnel expenses. As far as the rank structure, law enforcement, much like the military, is hierarchical. There is a structure. There has to be a structure. As far as the term deputy, every officer who works there is a deputy. I'm the only one who is not a deputy. I am the sheriff. However, different classifications goes to the hierarchical need of the organization to divide and organize the organization. So it's not in an effort to give somebody more money for a particular reason. It's paying them for the job that I've asked them to do. A little historical perspective, for years, the county pay plan floundered. It led to compaction. It was designed to where the employee would never surpass the middle quartile. And as soon as they got to the middle quartile, they would go to the next step, starting at the bottom quartile. I think most people agree that it was a failure. Sheriff's Office, on multiple occasions, through multiple sheriffs, addressed this issue. We needed to pay competitive wages. That hasn't changed over the last 3 sheriffs. It's very true today. In the MARC area, the 7 counties of the Kansas City metropolitan area, there are 76 either police departments or sheriff's offices. We're all competing for that same applicant. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to where there's stability, it's a good work environment, compensation, and other things that we can throw at them to entertain them, to get their attention to come here. So in 2016, we decided to approach this issue by working on our own pay plan, one specific for the sheriff's office. And usually I would agree that, you know, what's good for this office is good for this office is good for this department. I don't take that stance when it comes to this. Law enforcement is not the same as this department or this office. It's not an 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, controlled environment. It's 24/7, 365. It's dealing with the worst. It's getting, just because you wear a uniform in the jail, you get struck, you get spit on, you get urine thrown on you. This is a reflection of what was going on primarily in 2015, 2016, when 2 KCK officers lost their life in the line of duty. There was some bleed over into Leavenworth County on one of those deaths. So the people at KCK was dealing with is no different than the individuals that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Since that time, Leavenworth County deputies have been involved in at least 4 situations where shots were fired at us. I can't tell you how many times there's been a blade incident where somebody's brandished a knife. So there are very few people who want to stand up and take this responsibility on as it is. But to do it for $3, $4, $5 less an hour than what a neighboring department will pay, they're not going to take that on. Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office is the largest law enforcement agency in Leavenworth County. And for the longest time, we were the lowest paid agency in Leavenworth County. I would also submit that we had the most responsibility of any law agency in Leavenworth County. When you're losing officers to not only the municipalities within your own county, but your surrounding agencies, you have to look at why are they leaving. And when you do the exit interviews, and when you get down to the heart of it, a lot of it comes down to pay and benefits. Personnel is always going to be the most expensive piece of any budget. That's just the way it is. We try to control that cost as much as we possibly can. At any given time, at any given payday, the sheriff's office represents 30 to 33% of the county workforce. So we are going to have a large budget in that regards. We looked at what the other agencies were offering, what kind of benefits, what kind of other things that they can offer to attract. We identified a couple of those things, which again is a reason we have our own pay plan, because that is part of the pay plan. Longevity, college incentive. I'm at a loss here on a third one. But there's a third incentive as well. Leave buyback. Those are extra things that the county pay plan doesn't offer. The county did try to adopt some type of leave buyback, I believe, in response to our pay plan, and I don't think that went through. But what does that do for us? Well, if I have an employee who takes 40 hours or 80 hours of leave, that leaves a void. I've got to fill that. A lot of times that's covered by overtime at time and a half. So it's more costly to cover this absence than somebody who would rather sell back up to 80 hours of leave. It's also an incentive for them not to abuse leave. So they come to work instead of calling in, causing yet another overtime issue. It's not an apples to apples comparison with law enforcement and the other departments. And I'm not saying that the other departments aren't worthy of consideration. I'm here to speak on behalf of the sheriff's office. This plan has been very beneficial. Let me back up a minute. At my budget presentation, I presented this as an enhancement in August 2016. Commissioners at the time were Dennis Bixby, Bob Holland, and Clyde Graber. Upon completing my oral presentation, not only did they approve it unanimously, they made a second motion to put it into effect immediately, provided I had the funds to cover that. Nothing has changed between 2016 and 2018. It's still a good plan. It's still serving its purpose. I can understand the vacancy concern. If I had my way, I'd have no vacancies. But the truth of the matter is, we are a large department. There's always going to be fluctuation. There's always going to be a turnover. And the 8 vacancies I had at the time of the budget submission, I could have doctored that. I could have said I had 4. I could have said I had 2. And nobody would have been the wiser. We don't operate that way. We're honest. We report what we had. Typically in April, we lose some people because a military spouse will move on. Somebody will graduate college and go somewhere else. That's just the way things happen. But there is a constant turnover. So 4% of our personnel, to me, is an acceptable level. We are now down to 5 vacancies, and we have a testing event scheduled for next week. So very well, within the next 2 weeks, we'll know whether or not all those vacancies will be filled. 2 of those vacancies are nurses. It's hard to compete with the wage that a nurse makes. And not very many nurses want to work in a jail. But we know they exist because we have 2, and they do a great job. We'll find 2 more that will take care of what we need. The plan is good. The plan needs to remain as it is, untouched. I appreciate your concern of, the possibility of mismanagement. I will tell you this, I run a damn good office. We have integrity in our office, and there's no way that I would ever do anything to jeopardize my trust or the trust from the county that they've given me. And not going to happen. So I don't know if I touched on every subject you touched on or not, but.
Well, how many of our kids stay here in Leavenworth? Very few. They do in the government aspect because they know that they're not going to go on to be president or CEO, but they can have a nice income. Their husband probably works, or their spouse works, husband or wife. And I constantly hear, who is important on the pay scale? And it is teachers. And that's not because I'm married to a teacher, because we debate on a lot of subjects. Teachers are the most important. 54% of this county is untaxable. We cannot compete with Johnson County or Douglas County. Douglas County has 30,000 eaters that are walking the street buying clothes. And we have, I don't know, how many you got in the jail today?
Inmates or officers?
Yeah, inmates, how many you got? Roughly,
150.
150. They're all eaters, but they don't spend any money outside. You got the state pen, federal pen. You got the disciplinary barracks. They're all eaters, but they don't spend any money out in Leavenworth or Lansing or where they're at.
No, but Douglas County and Wyandotte County
Yeah.
are paying me to hold them, and it's
Yeah, well,
about $1
that's
million
good.
a year that's.
That's good. They should have paid us something for us taking the debris out of the water that they get from Wyandotte County for Johnson County. See, that's another subject. But kids leave because of pay, who they've met in college or whoever they've met anywhere. You said it was drawn up in 2016. If you had the funds to pay, where'd you get the funds?
I had vacancies.
Say again?
I had vacancies.
Had vacancies. That's just what I'm talking about. The funds for vacancies, and it's simple. You say you're down to 5 now. The other 3 that you were hiring, they wouldn't have been denied, would they? No,
What?
they would not have been denied. We wouldn't have said, Sheriff, we're not paying for your, you have to take us at our level as much as we have to do with you, even though Schruck up on the federal level swore to God and everybody else that he was a decent guy and he didn't lie. So, and that's up on the federal level, okay? I just don't listen to and watch city or county news. I don't read this and read that. I read anything I get my hands on to see what the system's doing. So the funds were available in 2016 because you had vacancies, pay increases, or a systematic occasional increase in pay. What happens to, what do we got, 400 and how many employees?
411, 415, depending upon.
Okay.
the season.
What happens to these other people? Are they unimportant? Well, I don't know, clerk could lose one person and somebody else pick up the job. We're losing drivers for the Council on Aging, so we just came along with something to get them to. We just came along up in the, for jurors, 54% untaxable. Now, the city found a way to get to the stormwater, to get St. Mary's, Fort Leavenworth, VA, everybody involved with that. It's going to be interesting if they get the Fort to pay and the VA, St. Mary's, they'll pay. But I just think it's something, and the conversation goes nowhere. If there's 2 people that want to put them under the same contract, the dissertation of why and why not is, to me, insignificant. As I mature, I don't know who I trust in saying that I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do that. The world has changed. We want to be able to rely, but there are a lot of changes taking place, and it's greatly disturbing. It was disturbing to the 78-year-old person last night and to the 80-year-old person talking to her. Times have changed. I'm going to bring up a great man, Matt Greenemeyer. Never had a contract with Matt Greenemeyer. Always a handshake. You know what handshakes are? There are no handshakes anymore. Look at all this documentation we're sitting up here looking at. So all it takes is, do we want to have that contract back to the county's pay plan and removing, it wasn't just gasoline funds for his department, it was all gasoline funds, Public Works and everybody, and remove unpaid positions that are vacant. It's simple. Do we want to do that? Or do we want to dissertate and go on for hours? Because I'm leaving at 11. So I have something way more important than listening to the potential of what could happen in the future. And I'm not bringing up salaries, but I can bring up salaries again. You get 143, your brother gets 134, and your wife's high up there at 93. That is,
That is not the pay. That is pay with benefits and everything else that the county.
that's right. Benefits count in there. They all count in there. Go ahead, Doug.
Mr. Chairman, were you talking about removing vacancies temporarily, and then when any department fills them, put them back in?
They come to us and say, I'm filling this vacancy, and it's, this is the pay plan, and this is what that person's going to make an hour, and gives a presentation, fine.
Are you talking about, say, like, would it be like if it was for 60 days, 90 days? I mean, you wouldn't want to do it if it was like turn around in 30 days. It takes 30 days probably to fill a position when somebody leaves unexpectedly. So.
All I'm saying is when they go, ever who it is, goes to make a payment or goes to do a plan to hire Joe Smith as master deputy because we have an opening, then that comes to us and that comes out of his budget item that we have removed over into. Now, if you want to, and I've known the Dedekis for years, and I've done things for the Dedekis for years. Your uncle, I did a heck of a lot for your uncle.
Keep it off a personal level. Let's talk about the issue at hand.
So
and I will remind you.
That's not
Mr.
personal.
Commissioner,
That is
let me
showing,
remind you.
no, that
No.
is showing that
Let me
I
remind
like
you.
the Dedekis.
Okay, well,
And you may not think that I like the Dedekis
Well, your
because
actions
one of your
certainly don't
deputies did the
demonstrate
same
that.
thing to me the other
Let me
day.
remind this board that the Kansas legislature recognizes the unique position of the sheriff. And in doing so, there is law that says the sheriff will hire, fire, promote, terminate.
And that the sheriff
And
has
if I have
nothing
to
to do
come to
with
this
nepotism.
board
The sheriff
and
has
request
no, the sheriff
permission
has
to
nothing
hire
to do with
somebody,
nepotism. It
that
does.
will not work.
No, okay. Then let's see you fire your brother or your wife, okay? No,
Okay.
that,
Let's talk about that, because this seems to be an issue that you have. When I was running for sheriff, and ever since, I have made no secret that my wife, who has worked there for
That's
almost
true.
25 years, would continue on. And she continues on because the position that she's in, which I did not put her in, it's a highly technical, it's a highly demanding position. It would be a disservice to Leavenworth County to remove her and bring somebody else in. And if
I
I
didn't
brought
say-
somebody else in at the level of responsibility she has, we couldn't afford to pay them.
I'm just saying.
As far
for
as
the-
my brother, the same thing goes.
Okay.
I make no bones about it. It's on our website. Every time I speak to a group, I bring that issue up. I don't hide the fact. that
Everybody
they
wants to
work
be politically correct. I don't want to be politically correct because that's how we get into the BS we're in today. You know, I voted for you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So it has nothing, it has to do with the presentation and we're, as a county commission, accepting it. And I don't care what the state says. If we can remove that potential from you and the county attorney and other departments that have made pay raises, right, Bob, other departments? Mm-hmm. Then I think it's something that we need to do. So,
That would be an
if
issue
there's
for
not
the
a
voters to
consensus
decide.
that we do it, fine. Because tomorrow, next Tuesday's gonna be a different day. We're gonna meet at
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. So, is there a consensus to do that? If there's not, and it can't be it shouldn't be voted on, is there a consensus to look at? And that would take 6 months of study.
I believe Mr. Lawfrey said earlier he had something to
I think
solve your issue.
I think what was being proposed today would kind of go outside the lines of what the normal duties of the commission would be, and fall into the everyday operation of the county as far as hiring and firing, and I really would strongly suggest we try to stay away from that. But if the concern is about what happens to the funding, it's not about who we're hiring and firing or whatever, because that is clearly a duty of the sheriff and somewhat of the other departments as well. The concern is what happens to the funds that aren't being spent on the budgeted positions. We could adopt a policy that said budgeted but unfilled positions, the budget authority for those would be removed after a 6-month review. Twice a year, we would do the review. They still have the ability to hire that position and fill it going forward. It's just what happens to the money that wasn't spent. What happens, and it's not really what happens to the money, it's what happens to the budget authority, because it's really what we're talking about here. The money stays in his budget right now, and it's spent on wages right now. If the concern is that that may not always happen, then we could do a policy that would allow those funds, the budget authority, to be removed after a 6-month period of review of any open positions. And it wouldn't be just the sheriff, that would be a countywide policy. And I would say that it would really have to stay within the general fund, because you can't move funds out of one fund into another without a budget amendment and without statutory authority. I could look into that. I could come up with a policy that would allow that. I think that addresses what you're saying. If there's a consensus, that's what needs to happen.
So what's, you two gentlemen have to have an input here.
And were you also talking about fuel? And
Fuel's
fuel
already-
being in the general fund?
That's already addressed in the budget for 2019.
Yep. So what's your thought process, gentlemen?
Well, I was, as Andy has said, that I originally voted for this, and I think it's a good idea. He runs a very tight ship over there. I see no reason in changing this. If you're not going to change every elected official, everybody in this courthouse, everybody in this county system, because I know of several things that have been done, money transferred without our permission. I've got documents that show this. I don't have any on the sheriff, but I have them on other people in this county.
Well, we can only take them one at a time, Bob. We can't hop on and, because instead of a 2-month study, it will be a year study or 18 months on the fire department. See, the studies just go on. And that's one of the complaints I've had about administrative form of business that we have here. Now, I think Mark's been doing a good job, but there is a problem with professional, because see, he has to stay with the 5 elected. I don't have to stay with you. So he has to guide you, but still cater to you if it's a marginal comment or a marginal procedure. I don't have to. I'm leaving in 5 months and 20-some days. And I think it's something that needs to be gotten under control, and then we can deal with other departments, other elected departments, as each week goes on. But if we don't, it's just putting a burden on potentially the next county commissioners, 4, 5, 10, ever how many we're going to end up with, because everybody wants, pretty soon we'll have 80,000 of them up there, and I don't know how we're going to do that, because everybody will have a personal commissioner at that time. So, if you don't want to do it,
To
let's
address
go
one more thing, to say to get it under control, that's to imply it's out of control, and
It's out of
not the
control.
case
We don't want to go
with us.
there. Now we're getting back
Eight
into the
vacancies was a
salaries.
snapshot in time of our office. There is no history of misuse.
Oh,
No.
don't get into the history
Talk
of,
to
back
your
when.
clerk. We work closely with that office. on a
Okay,
daily
that's fine,
basis.
but don't get into the
And as
history of
far as
Leavenworth County
the
Sheriff,
fuel piece of it.
because we'll bring in
we
some real
budget.
history.
We know how much fuel we're.
Andy,
gonna
how
use
old are
in a
you?
given year.
You don't
No.
have enough history.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
No, I don't want to hear you
Well,
finish.
then, we're done.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Oliver,
Yeah.
I appreciate your
Very
professionalism.
good. So, nobody wants to do anything? That's fine.
No.
And we appreciate you coming today, and may you come back and have another good day. Okay?
I got one more thing before we adjourn.
Oh,
You have
okay.
time? Just went to LCDC meeting last Thursday, and
Okay.
they're putting together a marketing plan for the industrial parks.
Yes.
You want this?
No, I got one.
You got it?
I
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right. and
It sounds
It's
like
a good
you-
start. It's a good start.
It sounds like they've gotten off dead center,
Mhm.
and they're moving forward,
That's correct.
and that's good.
And
But you have to,
And I'll make the Port Authority this week.
very good.
All right?
You got anything you want to say, Bob?
Nope.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Very good.